Okay, guys, welcome. This first module is on setting the scene for business agility. So we're really looking at the history, the background. We're looking at why it's important, where it came from. So we're going to go through 4 lessons in this first topic. The first lesson is on business agility, the drivers and the criticality. So what has driven business agility and why is it critical in today's day and age? So Amy, talk to us about what is business agility.
Yes, of course. So business agility effectively is the way businesses respond to change in changing environments. So everything from what's going on in the market to what's going on in their kind of competitors. But ultimately, it's a collective term that looks at multiple different values, principles, frameworks, and ways of working that allows a business to respond to change. So let's now dig into a little bit about where it's come from.
Yes. So business agility came from a bunch of different places over actually quite a number of decades, but there's stories that you may have heard of, like Toyota back in the really early days in trialing lean and lots of lean systems thinking, where they had the red cord and they pulled it if there was an error and everyone came flocking around the problem. And then there's other kind of scrum angles that it came from. So you've got Jeff Sutherland and developing scrum throughout the 90s with some of the big defense contractors in responses to some huge situations that were going on in the world, where the defense contractors had to come into government organizations and respond to stuff really quickly, where he started to then trial scrum and sprints and so on. And there was lots of lean startup type stories coming from Silicon Valley as well.
Yes.
So in summary, agile has come from lots of different places, but really the agile that we know today came out of the Agile Manifesto in the early 2000s.
Correct, yeah.
And so most of the frameworks that we know today, like Scrum, Kanban, Lean, Safe, all of those terms that you've probably heard, the agile that we know today and those terms, they most likely come from the early 2000s version of agile that kind of came through the Agile Manifesto. And Amy, why is it important? So why is this agile thing, all these frameworks, this way of working, like why is it important today? Why do we still care?
Ultimately, agile gives us a competitive advantage, gives organizations a competitive advantage because it allows them to pivot and change based on what's going on and respond to change quickly. It allows them to stay potentially ahead of that competition. It also helps mitigate risks. We used to see lots of situations where businesses might develop products, solutions that weren't quite right for the customer, but they'd spent 2, 3, 4 years developing that, and then ultimately they got there and it wasn't the right thing. So it helps us mitigate those risks of developing the wrong things. But also what we know now is that business agility helps with employee engagement and satisfaction. So people who are working in this way tend to have a higher engagement, higher morale, and they are happier in what they are doing day to day.
And we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but it's a really important point, because what I find interesting is that the way that people were used in the workforce 50 years ago, 100 years ago, was completely different, because you were employed because your hands could maybe move something across a factory floor, or you could do something physical. Whereas today you are generally in the corporate world, you're employed because you can solve problems and quite complex problems. So actually your ability to be seen as a problem solver and have a way of working that enables you to solve problems with good levels of autonomy and mastery and purpose is why Agile picked up probably quite a lot of interest and quite a lot of support from not just management who wanted to get things delivered quicker, but also the people working in organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other thing is, what we often now see is that because of where Agile came from in the software development world, there's still a lot of perceptions around it's only for technology. It's only for software development. It can't work in other industries and other departments and other kind of worlds. But I think both from our experiences, we've seen it work and it can work really well. But that perception is absolutely still out there today.
Awesome. So 3 key takeaways. Number 1, business agility is a response to changing business landscapes. Number 2, business agility has evolved and has become widely adopted in many sectors and industries. Number 3, business agility can give organizations competitive advantage it helps them reduce risks, and it improves employee engagement.